All right, Brock Purdy officially listed as questionable for 49ers Cardinals on Sunday, but it is way more complicated than that. And I'm going to explain right now because Kyle Shanahan just delved into some of the decisions the 49ers are going to have to make over the course of the next 48 hours. Some of them might need to be made by a deadline on Saturday. And then, of course, there's going to be a deadline on Sunday as well. On top of that, some breaking 49ers news regarding Connor Colby, who had been projected to make his first NFL start in place of Ben Barch at left guard. Colby suffered a groin injury at Thursday's practice. He is officially listed as questionable now, but it really sounded, based on what Kyle Shanahan said, that the Colby injury might keep him out a couple of weeks. So a lot going on. Juwan Jennings injury status, Trent Williams injury status. I'm going to get into all of that. 95.7 The Game had a video of Brock Purdy at 49ers practice today. Just a quick look. This was his third day in a row practicing for the 49ers in a limited fashion. So just wanted to make sure that you had a peek into what was going on. Go ahead and follow 95.7 The Game for all of today's video updates, because I was on assignment in San Francisco today. NFL Commissioner Roger Goodell was at the San Francisco Museum of Modern Art alongside Mayor Daniel Lurie, 49ers owner Jed York, and 49ers president Al Guido. Bay Area Host Committee hosted all of those guys today. They actually raised the Super Bowl 60 flag at San Francisco City Hall today. So that's where I was, but we're going to get into that in a little bit. First, we've got to get into the Brock Purdy injury status. So he's officially listed as questionable, but Kyle Shanahan said that it is highly unlikely that Brock Purdy is QB1 in this game Sunday. So that means that it's very, very likely that Mac Jones does start. All of the messaging that we had gotten and the clues that we had gathered over the course of this week seems to point at that, because the 49ers were leading the way with Mac Jones. And they had originally said 2 to 5 weeks for Brock Purdy. So even though he returned to practice, that didn't magically change the timeline of 2 to 5 weeks. He did improve over the course of this week with the toe injury that is keeping him out, but it is highly unlikely that he is the starter. So the 49ers then have a couple other options if he is to be ready to play but not be the starter. One is QB2, one is emergency quarterback 3. So emergency quarterback 3 is the less straightforward one. That would mean that Purdy is behind both Mac Jones and Adrian Martinez in the pecking order on Sunday. But because of a new NFL rule that was implemented after the 49ers ran out of quarterbacks, after Purdy himself got hurt in that 2022 season NFC title game at Philadelphia, the third emergency quarterback can be dressed and ready to come in if the first two get hurt. And that third emergency quarterback needs to be on the 53-man roster. Purdy's obviously on the 53-man roster, but there is a rule twist that Kyle Shanahan brought to our attention today, because the 49ers are researching this, that says that Adrian Martinez, who's on the practice squad, a standard elevation of Adrian Martinez to the practice squad to be QB2 for Sunday behind Mac Jones wouldn't be possible if the 49ers wanted Purdy to be emergency QB number 3. They would need to full-time promote Adrian Martinez from the practice squad to the 53-man roster for Purdy to be eligible to be the emergency number 3. So that's why the 49ers may have to make a decision by tomorrow, because the deadline to promote Adrian Martinez to the 53 and keep Purdy eligible as the emergency 3 is on Saturday and not on Sunday. If the 49ers want to keep this straightforward and just say, okay, Brock, you're sitting, they'll have to probably make that decision by tomorrow, because that's when they decide if Adrian Martinez is going to be elevated or not. So the third quarterback value here for the 49ers is what comes into question, and that's why we're going to be waiting for Saturday to see what the exact deal will be with Brock Purdy. This is not something that's going to send Brock Purdy to injured reserve, at least how it currently stands. He was, as you saw, back out at practice for the 49ers today. things are trending in the right direction. At the start of this week, I said not likely this week, even though he's practicing, but I think highly likely that he comes back at some point within the next 2 weeks, which would be before the next game against Jacksonville, which is the following Sunday after this home opener against Arizona. You could then fast forward another few days, and that's when the 49ers play the Rams in week 5. And I think that the 49ers definitely would like to have Purdy back before then. But a lot of this is going to be procedural and indicative of the 49ers risk tolerance of the quarterback position. And I think the only reason that we're talking about emergency quarterback 3 right now is because the 49ers have been burned in the past when they didn't have a third quarterback in that NFC championship game against the Eagles. I understand that week 3 against Arizona is not nearly as important as the NFC title against the Eagles, but this is still a big divisional game for the 49ers. And I think that they definitely want to cover all their bases as much as is practical within the means of the roster to have a third quarterback available. But again, would it be practical to move Adrian Martinez up to the 53-man roster permanently so that Purdy could be that QB3? Now, a lot of this, too, it's all in front of the backdrop of Purdy and a day of the game decision. Although QB1 is highly unlikely, the decision between playing and not playing, or being available to play and not being available to play, can run all the way up until Sunday, because this is an evolving situation with his toe. It has gotten better over the course of the week. It's very day-to-day at this point instead of being week-to-week, so that's good news for the 49ers. But right now they've got to operate on day-to-day mode because we are about 47 hours away from kickoff on Sunday. At 90 minutes before the game on Sunday, that's when the 49ers have to list their inactives. So at that point, you're going to have a final decision of whether or not Brock Purdy is going to be indeed available for this football game. And as I said, with the roster flex-up rules, maybe even Saturday is when, in effect, that final decision is going to have to come down. Because if by Saturday the 49ers decide that they're not going to promote Adrian Martinez to the 53-man roster, but they use the practice squad elevation on him, then you could just assume that Adrian's going to be the 2, and by rule the 49ers could not have Purdy be the number 3. That was an interesting rules twist that came up today that the 49ers have been researching in this Brock Purdy scenario. So the main thing to remember is that he's unlikely to be the starter, but a lot of different complicated roster machinations and decisions are going to happen over the course of the next 46 hours or so to determine where exactly on the pecking order Brock Purdy will be. And everything is surrounded by the day-to-day status of his foot. All right, now moving forward, Connor Colby, the rookie left guard. This is tough news for the 49ers, really tough news for Connor Colby. Hurt his groin during practice on Thursday, so yesterday. So Colby was ready to step in for Ben Bartch as a starter, his first NFL start, and this came after Ben Bartch landed on injured reserve earlier this week. Bartch has a high ankle sprain that he suffered during the 49ers win at New Orleans. So if you want to take a look at the 49ers depth chart here, you could see exactly how this was working. Bartch was on IR, so he was no longer in San Francisco's 53-man roster projection. He's at the list on the bottom. I'm highlighting the offensive line here. Colby penciled in to be the starter, but now Colby is hurt. So we could shade Colby instead of the green rookie shade. We're going to put him into the injury shade. All right, who fits in for Connor Colby? Well, Drew Moss is one possibility. In fact, we'll move Moss right behind him. That is the rookie out of Colorado State. So Moss has a chance to start, and so does Nick Zakelj. Zakelj was cut at the 53-man trim down, but he re-signed with the 49ers practice squad. He's got more experience in this system. He's a veteran as opposed to Drew Moss, the rookie. So now the ultimate test comes. On Sunday, Colby is officially questionable, but if he is unable to go, do the 49ers choose the rookie, Drew Moss, who showed a lot of promise, so much that they decided to protect him from poaching? He had a developmental spot in effect on the 53-man roster. Has he shown the 49ers enough of a floor to start him on Sunday, or will they go with the option that it's already started some games for them down the stretch run of last season in Nick Zakelj? Zakelj actually was good in pass protection when he started down the stretch of 2024. 4, but the run blocking left a little bit to be desired. I would think that the opposite might be true for somebody like Drew Moss, who's a shorter player, somebody who actually projects probably as a center long term at the NFL level, but somebody who the 49ers might believe enough in to give a shot at that guard position. At the very least, I would expect them to use one of their practice squad elevations on somebody like Nick Zakelj, because you need to bolster that guard position. Because another part of all this is that Spencer Burford has been ruled out for the 49ers. And Burford is your backup tackle. And Kyle Shanahan said that surgery might even be possible for Spencer Burford's knee, which obviously isn't good news for the 49ers. But with Burford being out, the 49ers might need backup tackle help in this game. And they've lost an emergency guard option because Burford used to start on the inside. So with all those things conspiring against the 49ers, I think you almost certainly are going to have to elevate at least one offensive lineman from the practice squad. So say it's Nick Zakelj, but you may have to elevate a second one, maybe somebody like Brandon Parker, because Burford was helping out at both tackle in a backup capacity and as an emergency guard. So Parker, the former Raiders third-round pick, signed to the practice squad this week. Would not shock me if the 49ers used 2 elevations on offensive linemen. Now, if you use 2 elevations on offensive linemen this week, you only have 2 per week from the practice squad. Maybe you do have to promote Adrian Martinez to the 53-man roster by tomorrow. So maybe you do have to cut somebody, make some room. Maybe Spencer Burford goes to injured reserve for the 49ers since his knee didn't respond well this week. So maybe Martinez does become part of the 53-man roster, and that would theoretically allow the 49ers to carry Brock Purdy as the emergency third quarterback and dress out for the game on Sunday. So you could see a lot of moving pieces for San Francisco. Now, a couple other injury updates for the 49ers. Jordan Watkins, the rookie receiver, has been ruled out. So I can go ahead and make that marking now. There's Jordan Watkins ruled out for the 49ers. So he is injury shaded now as well. And Juwan Jennings already has the injury shading, is listed as questionable. He did not practice all week. Unlike last week where we did see Juwan Jennings at the end of the week, we have not seen him this week. It is a new ankle injury this week. I did see Juwan Jennings shooting some hoops earlier this week. So it doesn't seem like a severe injury, but it could be something that is, and that was in the locker room shooting some hoops. Not a severe injury, but probably something significant enough to question, make him questionable, to compromise his potential status during this game on Sunday. If Jennings is unavailable to go, then the 49ers will lean more heavily into Kendrick Bourne, who seems to be getting into better shape for this football team. They will lean more heavily into Marquez Valdez-Scantling, and obviously Ricky Pearsall's having a good year. Russell Gage is on the practice squad for the 49ers. If they feel that they need another receiver, the problem is if they elevate 2 offensive linemen, or if they elevate Adrian Martinez and an offensive lineman, you can't elevate Russell Gage. And if Juwan Jennings is not ready to go, you might want to elevate another receiver. I have a feeling that tomorrow is going to be a busy day of transactions for the 49ers, just so they can get around some of these limitations. 2 practice squad elevations max, but also only 53 players on your 53-man roster max. We know that they can create a spot with Spencer Burford if this injury is indeed a multi-week injury. So that could mean 1 full-time promotion to the 53, but where else do the 49ers find a promotion to the 53? Jordan Watkins pops back up now on the injury unavailability report, so maybe Jordan Watkins heads to injured reserve. We can say that Saran Neal and Kyle Juszczyk, this is the piece of good injury news for the 49ers, but Saran Neal and Kyle Juszczyk have both firmly passed through concussion protocol, so both will have the injury shadings removed. Both of those guys will play. Anyway, let's get ready for a big 24 hours of roster machinations for the 49ers entering this game against the Arizona Cardinals. The predictions are out on the San Francisco Standard. Tim and I both picked differently in this game, by the way, so you should go ahead and check this out. Predictions up on the Standard. This is not my prediction video. That's going to be coming soon. But I do think that even with Mac Jones as the starter, the 49ers have a good shot in this game. Why? Because Mac played efficiently last week. He obviously is no Brock Purdy, but Arizona has a ton of injuries in their secondary. And those injuries can really, really help the 49ers be able to establish a pass game, establish some big plays downfield that further punish these defenses for wagering a lot against their run. And I think that's what ultimately, that kind of balance can ultimately help open up the run game for San Francisco. They're looking for more balance right now in many facets. The 49ers have been the most efficient team in the league on third and fourth downs so far this year, but they're number 25 and number 20, respectively, on first and second downs. And a lot of that ties back to the fact they're only averaging 3.3 yards per carry on the season so far. And that ties back to the fact that they're facing a lot of 5 and 6 man fronts to just make it harder to run in general. And then they're facing a lot of two shell defenses that make explosive runs hard. And the point of the game plan last week when Mac Jones threw 39 times against New Orleans was to punish the Saints for gambling against the run. And the Seahawks did some gambling against the run, and Brock Purdy punished them for it. Thought Mac Jones did a successful job as well in week 2. And if that continues happening, then some of these defenses are going to have to ease up at the line of scrimmage. And then that's where the 49ers can hit hard with the run game. McCaffrey's obviously going to be really important on Sunday. I could even see what the prediction line here for this game is on Sunday, given the fact there's been so much different quarterback news over the course of the week. Let's see this. Sunday's game, 49ers and Arizona. The 49ers are favored by 3 points. There you go. So there still is faith in the 49ers from the outside world that they have the goods to get this done, and probably also some recognition of the fact that the Cardinals have injuries of their own. But from a strategic perspective, I'm most interested about this because I've never been in a situation where the 49ers have had to make quite as many roster moves. I would predict that Burford goes to IR. Maybe the 49ers find somebody else like Jordan Watkins to head to IR, and they make a couple of full-time promotions to the 53-man roster, be it Adrian Martinez would be obvious, so they can have Brock Purdy as the emergency third quarterback and give themselves as many options as possible. And then another one might be Russell Gage, who's already been on the 53-man roster at one point before he flipped spots with Marquez Valdez-Scantling and went back to the practice squad. So it's going to be dramatic over the course of the next 24 hours, but we can talk, and we can talk about Roger Goodell today at the San Francisco Museum of Modern Art. This officially kicked off the countdown to Super Bowl 60, which is going to be here in the Bay Area. Like I said, Goodell, San Francisco Mayor Daniel Lurie, 49ers CEO Jed York, and of course, 49ers President Al Guido. Is just a quick peek into some of Roger Goodell's remarks about the Bay Area and this hosting of Super Bowl 60.
This would not be here of winning 5 Super Bowls. And this would not have happened, certainly without the leadership and the desire of the York family, and particularly Jed and his organization, of making sure that he put the best foot forward for this community, and wanting to make sure that this community was presented on this kind of a stage to the world. And the kind of impact that will happen here beyond the economics is talking about all the great things that are happening in the Bay Area. And that's what we're excited about doing, sharing our game, using our game to unite the country and the world. And I think we could all use a little bit of that. So the Super Bowl will be here to shine a light on the wonderful things that are happening and the wonderful things that are here in the Bay Area. One of the things that I love so much about the Bay Area and the NFL connection is your spirit of innovation, of never being settled and never saying that we're good enough. You're always reinventing yourself. You're using technology, you're using pioneers, and you've always been known for that. And that's hard to do when you have such a deep history and tradition, but you do it so well. And it's one of the lessons that I think is very close to me about the NFL. We're 105 years old. But we believe in innovation. We believe in getting better. We believe in trying to find ways to use our game to unite communities, just the way you do here in the Bay Area. And so
All right, that's a peek into Roger Goodell today at the San Francisco Museum of Modern Art. The countdown to February 8th has begun. Levi's is going to be the first stadium ever to host a Super Bowl and the World Cup in the same year. And it just so happens that it's the home opener for the 49ers. That's why Roger is in town. I think he's going to be here throughout the course of the entire weekend at San Francisco City Hall today. Roger Goodell and San Francisco Mayor Daniel Lurie raised the Super Bowl 60 flag. So a lot of news happening today. I was able to head to that here in San Francisco. Then we got our Brock Purdy status explained from Kyle Shanahan. We also have the Arizona Cardinals injury report. Will Johnson, one of their starting corners out of Michigan, first year man, rookie, second round pick. He is doubtful with a groin injury that kept him out of practice this week. The other starting corner, Max Melton, is questionable with a knee injury, although he did practice this week for the Cardinals. The guard, Will Hernandez, questionable with a knee injury. Offensive lineman Paris Johnson Jr., questionable with a knee injury. And Tip Ryman, the tight end, young tight end, Tip Ryman, is questionable with a foot injury. That is the Cardinals injury report. Again, to summarize what the 49ers are dealing with injury-wise in this game, Purdy, questionable, but not likely, highly unlikely to be the quarterback 3. Juwan Jennings, questionable for the 49ers. Jordan Watkins, out. Spencer Burford, out. And Connor Colby, that's the new one, suffered during practice on Thursday a groin injury, has him questionable, but Kyle Shanahan mentioned something about a couple of weeks for Connor Colby, which should have people concerned about the rookie status. Just really, really bad luck with Connor Colby because he was playing well. They didn't give up a single pressure during his 36 snaps in pass protection on Sunday after filling in for Ben Barch. But it looks like the 49ers will likely be on their backup quarterback and their third string left guard during this game. Either Drew Moss, a rookie, or Nick Zakelj, a veteran for the 49ers who's on the practice squad. It probably will call for an elevation of Nick Zakelj, probably also an elevation of Brandon Parker, although we're not sure exactly how he's been for the 49ers in practice this week. They signed him ahead of practice on Wednesday. Some other injury news. Dre Greenlaw has been ruled out of the third straight game of this season over in Denver. So Dre Greenlaw has yet to play for the Denver Broncos. I mean, injuries, obvious. This is a violent sport. They seem to be a scourge across the entire league. But just to give you an update on an ex-49er, Dre Greenlaw has just been ruled out of the Broncos-Chargers game on Sunday. So roster machinations are going to have to happen in San Francisco. If you have any questions about them, please let me know right now in the comments section. This is the article, the predictions up on the San Francisco Standard. There you go. Check it out. We're going to toss the link into the description and toss it into the comment section. Definitely subscribe to the Standard because we've got, this is heavy hitting 49ers coverage. Tim and I are putting in a lot of work, and I think a lot of these roster machinations that are about to happen, I'm going to have them all explained very soon up on the San Francisco Standard. So question time. Let's go. I'm ready for it. Next week, yes, the 49ers will get DeMarcus Robinson back, and they're going to have to make a roster move there because Robinson is currently not counting against the 53-man roster as he's on the suspended list. Walter Nolan still hasn't played for the Cardinals, and he is currently on an injury list. I believe he is on PUP. I think he got hurt at the Cardinals facility over the course of this offseason. So not NFI, but PUP for the first-round pick, Walter Nolan. Ask some good questions, guys. I know this could be a little complicated with the lineup machinations, so I'm happy to answer everything. Steve thinks that against Jacksonville, both Purdy and Robinson will be back. I think that's likely. Robinson, yes, of course. I think Purdy probably as a starter next week. But again, it's a day-to-day thing, and that toe has to keep on progressing. It has this week. We saw Purdy practicing a little bit more gingerly. That was all good news, but it just doesn't seem like the timeline is going to line up for him to actually start on Sunday. Jordan James is healthy. He's not on the injury report. Neither is Trent Williams. Good news for the 49ers on both of those fronts. Brian says, hopefully Colby can play. That'll make things a lot simpler. Sure, but I mean, he's very questionable right now. And when Kyle Shanahan started talking about the potential of a couple weeks, that made him doubtful in my mind. So we'll see. Some of the roster moves the 49ers make tomorrow will give us some hints as we examine this situation. So we don't know this. If Brock plays, he'll further injure his foot. That's speculation. You're not his doctor. You're not sure exactly where this is as a toe injury. And I guarantee you that the 49ers are trying to make the most educated possible decision here. And if they do think that, yes, the chance of an aggravation is there, then that would obviously contribute to their rationale of not playing Brock Purdy in this game. Mordecai is no longer on the team. Quarterback-wise, you're dealing with Purdy, Mac Jones, and Adrian Martinez. Watkins, Shanahan didn't say anything about this, but Watkins has been ruled out, which is a worse injury status than previous weeks. If there was a re-injury there, then maybe he's going to head to injured reserve because the 49ers, it does seem that they need 53-man roster spots to field the optimal team on Sunday. Brian is betting that Watkins goes to IR. Robinson is coming back next week. That may help the 49ers make some of those machinations at the receiver room. And yes, and I also think that somebody like Spencer Burford may be a logical candidate for injured reserve as well. Yes, Colby got hurt in practice on Thursday. So groin injury, officially questionable. In my head, it sounds like he's doubtful, but we'll see. There's going to be a lot to stay posted on this weekend. So hopefully you guys will be up on the San Francisco Standard. Subscribe there, sign up there. I'm going to break down all the injury machinations that I have on this video as well. Subscribe to the channel. Be ready with a notification bell for tomorrow's roster moves because those will give us some hints about what exactly the 49ers will do. Ryan says, I didn't think the run game was that bad last week. Can they commit to establish the run this week? It's not, I've been having this conversation with some people. You don't just establish the run by running into a brick wall a bunch of times. So sometimes establishing the run is contingent on what the defense plays against you. If they're going to be selling out against the run on a down in, down out basis, you do what you did last week and you throw 39 times as the 49ers against the Saints. You're at the mercy of what the defense calls, and throwing has been effective. Mass throwing has been effective for the 49ers over the first 2 weeks. Once defenses say, okay, we've had enough of these quarterbacks beating us and they back off, that's when you're going to have a little bit more running room. I think some more started to appear last week and the 49ers were a little bit off. And one of these weeks, I guarantee you the run game will start fully clicking at the efficiency that we've come to expect. You just can't will it to happen because you want to, though. A lot of it depends on what types of defenses you are facing. We're going to be getting a lot of Feliciano questions. I get it, but let's see how the 49ers actually stack up this week. They're obviously not going to bring in John Feliciano over the next 24 hours. It might be something that San Francisco kicks the tires on next week, but this Colby injury happened way too late in the week for that to be a serious possibility. All right, guys, I'm going to go right for the San Francisco Standard. Again, go check out the link. I'm going to go ahead and post it right in the comment section right now. Purdy, questionable, unlikely to start. Is he going to be QB2? Is he going to be QB3? We're going to get answers over the course, probably over the next 24 hours. Tomorrow's 49ers roster moves will tell us part of the story, and then the inactive list on Sunday will tell us more. In the meantime, Purdy will continue rehabbing that toe. He practiced all 3 days. It's never really likely to play or start this week, but QB2 or QB3 does seem to be a distinct possibility for Brock Purdy, and we're going to figure things out as we go. Roll with the punches. Follow along for the news and all the analysis here. I know it's complicated, but I'll do my best to explain everything for you guys as we progress. Check out the Standard. I'll talk to you soon.